Sport!
Friday at 7 p.m, your weekend sports on Talk Radio Europe with the Friday Sports Bar.
You've chosen Talk Radio Europe. You've chosen the Friday Night Sports Bar for your hour of sport. Coming to you live from the studios. Coming up over the next hour, in his own words, a liar, a cheat. Lance Armstrong finally seals his fall from grace. Andy Murray and Roger Federer remain on a semi-final collision course down under in the Australian Open. NFL Championship playoff deciders this weekend. It's for a right in the Super Bowl 2013. And golf's highest earners, the world number 1 and world number 2, Rory McIlroy and Tiger Woods missed the cut at the HSBC Championship. All that and plenty more to come over this next hour with me, Dom Aldworth, Richard Tilsley, Stuart Joseph, and of course you out there on the airwaves.
Friday Sports Bar with Dom Aldworth.
A huge step for him to come out and admit that he used performance-enhancing drugs. We haven't seen that anywhere near him, any kind of admission. I mean, he's been lying for years. He's lied to presidents. He's lied to Larry King. He's lied to Oprah before. He's been lying about how many tests he passed, 500 tests. He only took about 250. Lied about not seeing Dr. Ferrari, a known doping doctor. He lies about everything. So now for him to come out and actually change and say and admit that he was doping during his career, it's a big step. What does it mean? I don't know. Where does it lead? I'm not sure, but it's a start. I don't trust that he's not powerful, and that's how powerful he was before. He had a ton of influence. He owned the cycling industry. I mean, whatever he said would kind of happen, or he could twist and wiggle. He had a ton of money, and the money can buy a lot of things that a lot of other people can't get. Lance knows everything that happened. He's the one that knows who did what, because he was the ringleader. I admitted that I had used EPO for a little bit. I did the majority of my career clean. I didn't use it in 2000. I was fired off the team after that. And even in '99, when I was on the team, I found out that 3 guys, which was Livingston, Hamilton, and Lance, were getting secret visits by some guy on a motorcycle for EPO and blood transfusion and all this stuff. All the rest of us I had no idea. And I was there. And there's other guys on the team that had no idea, and they were there. Same thing in 2000. So it was a very secretive world and a separate world.
Well, welcome to the Friday Night Sports Bar. Good evening to all of you out there on the airwaves, and a warm welcome. It's back to the studio, Stuart Joseph, and again, Richard Tilsley.
Good evening.
Good evening, Dom. Good to be here.
What do you make of that interview, guys? Former teammate Frankie Andrew of Postal Service, US Postal Service team in the late 90s. His career finished in 2000 when he decided not to take any performance-enhancing drugs. A pretty spectacular admission on Oprah by Lance Armstrong.
Well, I mean, it just purely confirms that what we've all known for years and years, that, doping was rife in cycling from the 1960s onwards, really.
I mean, obviously he's taken some pretty serious legal advice before he's agreed to this interview with Oprah. He's openly admitted that, of course, he's done this, and he's did it for all of his championship wins in the Tour de France. I mean, where does that leave Lance Armstrong now? I mean, with a mountain full of legal cases, of course.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's certainly going to have a very hefty legal bill, that's for sure, because, I mean, I know that the Times in London, whom he won a libel case against, are looking to sue to get their money back, and then I suppose there's various sponsors, who feel as though their product has been sullied by his confession. To be honest, I'm surprised he did make the confession, Dominic. If I was him, I'd have just kind of like tried to fade away into obscurity somewhere and live as a recluse.
Bit of a damage limitation, I think. It's certainly to choose Oprah, of course, of all people, to do that. But no major apologies from him. Yet at all. Stu, you want to say something to that?
Can the sponsors ask for their money back? I mean, he's had a lot of sponsorship.
Well, there's a legal case Nike have taken against him. They were one of the major sponsors of his cancer charity. Is it Live Strong or Live Strong? So I think there's going to be a mountain load of cases, and obviously a lot of these, they're going to have to prove as to when and which races he was taking the performance-enhancing drugs, and who were the sponsors at that point in time as well. He's been stripped this week of his, was it a silver or a bronze medal from the Sydney Olympics? He's obviously had his titles taken away from him for the Tour de France. But yeah, I mean, plenty of this is going to unravel. But of course, at the end of it all he does is he writes a book and he makes all that money back, doesn't he?
But the real investigation needs to go into the teams themselves, because they were the people who were facilitating the drug use. You know, it wasn't something that was contracted by Armstrong independently of US Postal. I mean, they were fully aware of what's going on. And if anything, I think sanctions need to go against the teams themselves.
Well, plenty of this is going to come out. I don't want to spend the whole show talking about it. Every major network is covering. What I do advise is anybody out there, Giles Brown this afternoon on his show conducted an interview with a former teammate of Lance Armstrong, Tyler Hamilton, just before Christmas, and it went out today. I heard the interview today. You can go to the on-demand service on the Talk Radio Europe website. I think the interview was between 1 and 2 o'clock, if I'm correct in saying. If not, it was between 2 and 3. But you can check that out on the on-demand service on Talk Radio Europe. I highly advise, for those of you that missed that, have a listen to that interview that Giles conducted with Tyler. Fascinating stuff. A great interview there by Talk Radio Europe's Giles Brown. Guys, welcome back to the studio, Stu.
Thank you.
You've come back from... so we didn't mention it on air last time because we thought it was a bit too personal. But you're back now. You're looking in good health after spending a bit of time in Amsterdam.
Yes, I've had all the cakes and all the drinks, and no, I'm feeling really right up for it, and it's lovely to be back in the studio with all of you. But I wanted to ask you something that's on my mind. This mastermind quiz that I heard about the bet today. I mean, is this true?
Yes.
Is what's going around?
The what, sir?
Are you going to pay up?
Pay up what?
Well, you got trouts. What did you get a couple of weeks ago? 8 out of...
Well, hang on. But the listeners don't even... I don't even know what you're talking about. The listeners, how are they going to know what you're talking about?
Stu's heard about it.
You're talking about Hannah's mastermind every Friday?
Hannah's mastermind. And are you... And when are you going to pay up?
What do you expect me to pay you? Okay, for the listeners out there, Richard wants to gloat. If you didn't hear Mastermind this morning, Richard actually did Mastermind. Now, my Mastermind 2 to 3 weeks ago was over a 20-year period of international cricket, right? Richard's questions this morning was about one movie.
No, it was
one movie.
It was one
and mine was a 20-year period of international cricket involving 12 teams.
It was about one man and the movies he made.
Oh, well, there you go, honey.
Over a 35-year period.
I mean, it's like, my specialist subject is A to B in the alphabet. Ask me a question. I mean, no wonder you got...
you see, thing is, they just can't... These Saffers, Stu, they just can't take a good stuffing, can they?
No, listen, Fedges...
And what I'm waiting for is he going to pay up? Is he going to deliver?
I don't actually remember betting anything, but if you claim I did, then, what do you want? What do you want from me? You want the shirt off my back?
No, it's a bit sweaty, that one.
I've only got one shirt. Well, many congratulations, Richard, for doing better
heard about it.
Stu, you heard about what?
The bet.
Well, tell me, what was it?
As soon as I came in, I heard you...
Oh, well, you know something I don't know. I don't remember shaking hands or anything like that. Just out of interest, how's the dating game going these days, Rich?
Dominic, very cleverly changed the subject there, Dom.
Yeah? Well, I was going to say lovely weather we've been having lately.
You've had that one up your sleeve for some time.
Today. How's the dating going?
He's had a couple last week. Well, actually, last week he had a second date. I thought it was another date with another woman, but it wasn't. It's the same lady. And she's decided after the second date that she can't stand him, so she's moving to Amsterdam.
Hang on, we're supposed to be talking sport here.
No, but so she's moving to Amsterdam, so I thought that's perfect, right?
That is a sport, isn't it?
It is a sport, yeah.
Well, it's perfect. You see, now Rich can go to Amsterdam to live with his girlfriend and fall in love and be happily ever after. You go there on a regular basis to change nappies, so you guys can come on the phone at the same time on the Friday night sports bar.
We could meet
before you go to the coffee shop.
Stu and I could meet for some space cake and give you a ring.
I don't think we'll have you on after you've been to those coffee shops anyway, gentlemen. Enough of the banter. We're wasting our valuable sports time. Guys, we'll talk a little bit about football, and I suppose one of the really big stories for today is the Southampton manager, Atkins, getting sacked. I think that stunned an awful lot of people, didn't it?
Just incredible. I mean, I really, when I heard it, I couldn't believe it. I thought Southampton during the week against Chelsea, 2 goals down, they come back to 2-2. They haven't lost for 5 matches. They're playing some good football. They've just stabilised themselves in the Premier. I mean, it just shows you no one is safe. I mean, and they're fetching in a guy that doesn't really know the Premier. He's got a bit of background, obviously, in football, but you're fetching in a guy that has got to get round the players. The players are just warm into their manager. A new man comes in. They're not safe by any means, Southampton. I really don't get it. I could understand at the end of the year, maybe. They want to move on. They're safe, OK. But to do this mid-season, I really don't get it.
I mean, when you look at Southampton, one thing that you'd have to say that they have in spades is team spirit, and I think it's that superb team spirit that has enabled them to come back against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge from 2 goals down And that is no mean feat, because Chelsea have been playing some pretty good football of late. And to sign a manager who has a very indifferent record, to say the least, Espanyol, I think he won less than a third of the games that he was managing. And, you know, and certainly, I mean, didn't take Espanyol to the heady heights that Southampton are hoping he's going to take them. So, I mean, I think that it's a very, very dangerous move by Southampton, and I think that it could well plunge them back into the relegation zone from a position where you'd have to say at the moment, you know, they look very, very safe. But, you know, with teams like QPR strengthening, Reading having some good results, you know, Wigan playing some good football some weeks, you know, I wouldn't surprise me at all to see Southampton back in the relegation zone in a couple of weeks.
Sorry, I was just going to say, here's a manager that's lost his job. Over Christmas, they drew with Fulham away. They drew 3-3 at Stoke away. They drew 1-1 with Arsenal, a great result at home. They went to Villa, beat them 1-0. They've just drawn with Chelsea 2-2, and the guy's got the bullet.
I was going to say, there must be something underlying yet that will be revealed.
This was done ages ago. I think this whole change, I was saying to Richard earlier, I reckon this was done ages ago by the Southampton admin. You know, I don't think this has just happened. This was planned, and this was in place, definitely.
Well, let's just hear from Jamie Redknapp what he thinks about today's decision by the chairman of Southampton to get rid of Nigel Adkins.
I have to be honest, I'm absolutely stunned. Out of all the managers in the Premier League, I think this season, I think he's done as good a job as any. It's been sensational, the job he's done there, from taking them from the third from bottom of Division 1 to the situation where they're 3 points of relegation, playing exceptional football. Went to Chelsea, 2-0 down, brought them back to 2-2, won at Villa. The team's playing really good football. You know, people like Ricky Lambert, Punch, and have just come into the Premier League and look at home. I just find it's incredible, really. I think it's just another example of deluded chairman. I think that the people that run the club perhaps don't understand football enough. And you know, there's always been rumours. I must say, I've always heard rumours in football that perhaps they weren't getting on well, Nigel Adkins and the chairman. You know, so it shouldn't come as that much of a surprise to everybody. But I find it incredible because he's done an amazing job there.
Well, there's something that Jamie Redknapp, of course, who's probably got some great inside information there, that obviously things were not great between Nigel Adkins and the chairman of Southampton Football Club.
It must have been something. You must remember that 2 weeks ago, Chelsea visited Southampton and beaten them 5-1 in the FA Cup. Now, maybe there's something went on after the game there, but, you know, he's taken the team, lifted them, taken them back to Stamford Bridge to get a 2-2 draw after a 5-1 drubbing. You know, as Jamie Redknapp said, I can't make head or tail of it. It's got to be something that was laid out quite a while ago. It's not something to happen overnight.
Well, I'll tell you what, from one manager who's certainly not smiling tonight in Nigel Adkins to one that was during the week, and I think one that again stunned the world of football, Pep Guardiola coming back. We all knew he was going to come back at some stage. But to go to Bayern Munich, certainly I didn't expect that, and I think most people didn't. We thought maybe Chelsea, Manchester United or Manchester City were the top clubs that he was eyeing, but he's walked into a club that could potentially be on the beginning of a golden era themselves as well.
A bit safe though, isn't it? Don't you think it's a little bit safe? You know, he's gone from Barcelona, done everything he could there. He's gone to...
I mean, a guy with his credentials is not going to walk into an unsafe job, is he? He's going to walk into a top-class club, isn't he?
But I think Bayern is distant from a lot of the German clubs. I think even more distant maybe than Manchester United from the rest of the Premier clubs. I just think it's a very safe cushion to go into. He's going to do a great job. He can't fail to do a great job. He's going into a team that's top of the Bundesliga. What have they got, a 9-point lead already? You know, it's a comfortable position. But I was a little bit surprised. But, you know, he knows his football. And I don't think it was on the money side. I think he really fancies that he can take the team even further than, you know, where they've gone.
Rich?
Yeah, I agree, totally.
He's doing it again. Last week he did it. I mean, you know, why doesn't he just answer me in one word instead of two? We've got a caller on the line. We're going to bring you in there if we can get these phone lines working there. Good evening. You're live on Talk Radio Europe and the Friday Night Sports Bar.
Hello, good evening. Yes, about this Lance Armstrong, I think he should be jailed and jailed with hard labour.
well, there is talk. Absolutely, there is talk that possibly he could be facing a jail sentence of some description down the line. Only time
Why
will tell.
not? I mean, how about all the others who came second, third, fourth, and down the line? What's happened to their future? Some of them might have given up.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, if you're aware of the situation, some of the riders in these various teams around that time, if they refused to take performance-enhancing drugs, they were effectively kicked off the team.
I like the idea of hard labour for cheating sportsmen.
I mean, what if he'd won the gold medal in the Olympics.
Also,
I mean,
but why?
what would have happened then?
But why stop with cheating cyclists? I mean, why not? Gareth Bale every time he dives in the penalty box. I mean, that's a day of hard labour. I mean, cheating at the Olympics. Well, that's probably a month. And Lance Armstrong. Well, that's got to be a 10-year stretch, hasn't it?
Caller, do we still have the caller there? Sorry, I was just fiddling around here with the mouse. Are you still there, caller? Hi, good evening.
Hello?
Hi, good evening. You're live on Talk Radio Europe.
Yeah, it's what that guy was saying there. Like, there's 180 guys in a peloton.
Absolutely.
So why don't you put them all in jail? That's why nobody else would get the prize. It's void.
Yeah, I mean, it's common knowledge that pretty much the whole peloton were involved at the time, pretty much most of them, and those that did...
For the 7 years that he won it, most of the guys who came second all got banned anyway. Ulrich, Pantani, Lisa, they all got banned.
And there was one or two fellas as well that weren't taking performance-enhancing drugs. An Italian, I can't remember his name, who actually opened his mouth and stressed against the performance-enhancing drugs. He never finished the tour. I think that was in 1999, and effectively ended his career.
What happened with him was one day he made a breakaway on his own lane, and Armstrong made a professional vendetta to go after him and drag him back so that he couldn't win.
Yeah.
And that's when that guy quit. He was just like a bully, kind of.
Yeah, completely.
Omerta within the peloton.
Yeah, well, it's all going to be very interesting to see all this unfold, and I'm sure there's going to be a book on the shelves in the not-too-distant future. Many thanks for your call, and thanks for listening into the show. And my sincere apologies. There was a caller that was actually on the line at the time there. I do apologise. I didn't cut you off intentionally there. But we've got another caller on the line here. We're going to bring you in. Good evening. You're live on Talk Radio Europe on the Friday Night Sports Bar.
Good evening, gentlemen. This is Jack.
How you doing, Jack?
Okay. In addition to all this money that was won in these tournaments and whatever else, if you remember, he had some cases that were put into the papers, and he sued them, and he won a bunch of more money.
He did indeed. I think the Daily Mail or the Daily Mirror was one of them. The Times.
This is what.
Now then, okay. Well, the newspapers should turn around now and sue him for damages to their reputation as well as the money back.
I think they all are.
The Times has already started legal proceedings.
Have they done that? Yeah. Well, this guy deserves this kind of treatment. Awful.
Yeah, he's going to get what's coming to him.
A question for Richard.
Jack, good to talk to you. Long time. How's things?
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. I heard your voice, and I remembered way back to OCI. That was about 80 years ago, I think.
It certainly was, and then, of course, the very early days here as well, Jack.
Right, and then here we go. We at the time we were talking about golf, about sports, about everything else, and you lived, I think, for a while in New Jersey.
Well, yeah, I did work in New Jersey years ago as well. And,
yeah,
but I remember you were heavily involved in golfing for the blind, weren't you?
Right. Well, okay. Nice to meet you again.
Great to talk to you, Jack.
Okay, guys. Thank you.
Cheers, Jack. Thanks very much indeed for your call. And Jack, if you want to know how is Richard Tilsley, I can tell you right now, every Friday he is a pain in the beep. I won't be able to use... we've got another caller on the line here. They're coming in thick and fast. We've got two more callers calling in, actually. Good evening. You're live on Talk Radio Europe. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, hi. I got a comment about this Armstrong deal as well. I watched the interview with Oprah earlier this morning. It was on at 3 o'clock on Spanish TV. And I think this is much more now than just a doping issue. This is Lance Armstrong, and I watched him very carefully. He was very measured in his answers to Oprah. And he's in damage control. This is about limiting his losses. He's denied that he doped after 2005 when all these sponsorship deals were signed. He made a lot of money out of Livestrong, too. It's not well known that there were two Livestrong organizations. One was Livestrong.org, which was a charity which was not giving money for cancer research. It was giving mostly its money for cancer awareness. There wasn't a lot of money, I think about $20 million given to cancer research. Hundreds of millions were used for promotion and people flying around in corporate jets and stuff. Armstrong was getting personal services contracts, multi-million dollars, under Livestrong.com, which was a profit-making organization. So we can talk about Marco Pantani and other guys and big names taking dope, but this goes far beyond that. This is about money. His personal wealth is over $100 million. He had a number of advisors with him before he was interviewed by Oprah. He was very measured in what he said. Any difficult questions, he fudged. This is not over yet. He's now into, I think, protecting what wealth he can, and he's into plea bargaining to avoid jail sentence. That's my reading anyway.
And do you think a jail sentence could be a possibility?
Absolutely. Absolutely. If he's defrauded the federal government, U.S. Postal Service is a federal government agency. If he's defrauded them, if they can prove fraud there, then he's going to go to jail, or he's going to have to plea bargain his way out of it, which will cost him a lot of money, I think. He's already tried to bribe the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency. I think he offered them $12 million as a settlement of some kind, so they would stop, but they rejected that. So there's more to come. There's lots more. There's another airing of the rest of the interview, and I think they're going to get into the money side of this. I think they're going to drift away from the cycling and the doping.
All very interesting.
That's what I read. What I read. So it's far more than just doping.
That's great. Thank you very much indeed for your insight and for your call as well. Much appreciated.
Yeah.
Sorry to those other callers that were trying to get in at that time. We must shift focus from Lance Armstrong, please. I don't want to spend the entire show speaking about him. Of course, we're going to be talking plenty about Lance Armstrong over the coming weeks. We're going to turn our attention. There's plenty of other sport that I'd like to talk about. Stu, FA Cup fixtures that have been taking place during the course of this week as well, please.
Well, we had some replays during the week, some good games, if you like, your football. Leeds went to Birmingham and won 2-1, and we got a lovely home tie against Spurs. Manchester United, you probably saw during the week, beat West Ham 1-0. Not a great game, but West Ham gave 100%. And if anyone saw the game, I mean, Ryan Giggs is just an exception. 39-year-old star player of the game. He was absolutely magnificent. He is every week.
Perennial Ryan Giggs. Stu, I'm going to cut you in. We do have a caller patiently trying to get through here. Good evening and welcome. I'm just going to shift you over to the other line. Good evening. You're live on Talk Radio Europe.
Good evening, gentlemen. James Chapman here.
How are you doing, James?
Okay. Pep Guardiola.
Yes.
The talk amongst the Spanish is the reason why he went for the German club is because they're much more regimented or strict, because he's quite a strict manager, and he didn't want to go to England because he felt that they were too lax with how they control their players. Take Bartoli, for example. So he went there. Evidently, with Barcelona, he used to phone up players at 11 o'clock at night and ask them where they were. So that he wants to keep that strict regimen type of management going. And he felt that Germany was the country that are already like that. So that's why he's gone there.
James, can you clarify something today that broke on Talk Radio Europe, actually? Giles Brown on his show talking to our very own Paul Breen-Turner this morning about the possibility of Isco joining him at Bayern Munich.
I personally think that if Isco goes, he will go to Paris Saint-Germain. The reason being, of course, because the Sheikh is related to the owner of Paris Saint-Germain, and that Malaga want a couple of players from them, and he might go in a swap deal.
Okay, well, I know you're a Malaga fan, so am I, so are many listeners out there. We certainly hope that neither of those moves happen, that Isco remains firmly in Malaga on the Costa del Sol, playing as good football as he has done.
Before you go, can I just say, from what I've learnt about the problem as a shareholder of Malaga Football Club, I've learnt that the reason why Malaga has this problem with the tax man and ultimately with UEFA is because a simple fact that they haven't got any collateral. They don't own anything. The Sheikh bought the club, he bought it in name and the players. He doesn't own the ground, and so he's got no collateral to fall back on for any loans or outstanding debts that he's got, and that's the reason. That's the bottom line.
Who owns the ground then, James?
The ground is owned by three lots of entities: the Junta de Andalucía, the Deputación of Malaga, and the Andalusian Tourist Board, and Marbella Town Hall. And so the Sheikh is now trying to buy it off them, and he's into negotiations to buy it.
Is that why there was also talk a few years ago of him building a totally new stadium?
Well, what happened, Richard, was when he first bought the club, he went to the Punta d'Andalusia and asked them if he could increase the size of the ground by 10,000 seats because he had sold out. And they said, you can't, it's ours, and you can't. And so he then said, all right, then I'll build my own. And that's where that came about. And since that time, I don't know whether you know it, but he put in a plan for a 65,000-seater, which was turned down by the Junta de Andalusia because they said it was in line with the new runway. And when there was a game, the planes would get confused and so on and so forth. And so the Sheikh's lawyers then turned around and said, well, you better knock down Plaza Mayor then, because it's dead in line with the existing runway. So Sevilla then turned around and said, well, in that case, you can't build it because it will be 65,000, will be bigger than anything that's in Sevilla. You can't build anything that's in Sevilla, so we don't grant you permission.
James, can I ask, I don't understand something you just said, please correct me. If the club is playing its ways, it's earning its money through the television and European rights and through the turnstiles and all the money's coming in, they're paying their bills, why would it make any difference whether they've got assets or no assets? As long as they're playing the game and doing everything correctly, why would that harm them?
I couldn't agree more, but the argument is that they've got no collateral. No, they don't own the ground. They have, in actual fact, 5 million euros in the bank, but that's not regarded as enough. And if you want to make them muddy the waters even more, the St. Petersburg, who I think are owned somewhat by Gazprom, who are also the big promoters of the Champions League, never thought for 1 minute that Malaga would win the league or beat St. Petersburg. And they, in actual fact, tried to get Malaga out of the league even before that league had finished. But because Malaga won it, they were told they couldn't. And that's why they eliminated them.
Guys, we've got another caller on the line. James, if you want to just stay there for a minute. Good evening. You're live on Talk Radio Europe. Hang on. Let's try that one there. Hi, good evening. No, I'm afraid we've got nothing there. James, is there anything else you might want to add to that for us, guys? Did you want to ask James anything else while we've got him on? He seems to know absolutely everything about Malaga.
No, all of us here, we all support Malaga. We want Malaga to do well. We're looking very, very forward to the next European night, and we just wish them well. It's just such a shame the publicity they're getting, because it must be bad on the players, on the supporters and everybody else.
In fact, when you listen to James, you can understand why the Sheikh Al Thani is completely fed up with the situation and was looking to divest himself from, of the club, because, when you're facing that sort of
the whole thing's absolutely ridiculous.
Bureaucracy.
I could tell you a lot more, but it makes your blood curl, really. And in the Sheikh, in actual fact, is being wooed by other countries to just come here and bring your money here and so on and so forth.
James, gentlemen, we do have that other caller who rang back on the line. Good evening. You're live on Talk Radio Europe.
Yeah, good evening, Dom. It's Pompey here.
How you doing, Gary?
Quickly, Alex Ferguson's been tracking Isco for the past 7.5 months, but and I've known Isco. I've taken him a holiday, etc. I've known Isco since he was 8-9 years old, but he's a great Barcelona admirer. And if he'd go anywhere, I think he'll finally go to Barcelona.
Gary, he's gone off the boil, isn't he? The last several games, he hasn't been his normal self.
That was. How can I put it? Yeah, that wasn't expected. That wasn't unexpected, shall we say?
Because?
Well, I'm not going to go into details over the telephone. That'd be wrong for Isco's.
I mean, he hasn't been paid. He hasn't been paid. That's what you're saying.
Well, yeah, there's a little bit more to it than that. But just quickly, the main reason I'm phoning up for, and it's I deal with James because no one knows Spanish football more than James. If anyone knows anything about this manager that's just taken over Southampton Football Club. Hopefully they'll take him down, but I don't know if anyone...
Yes, he used to play for Espanyol.
And
he used to be manager of Espanyol for 3 years.
Yeah, I know that, but I didn't know if anyone... I know he's Argentinian.
Well, we've still got James on the line here. Maybe James knows a little something more than we do here.
I don't know anything about the ex-manager of Espanyol taking over Southampton, I'm afraid.
He also played for Paris Saint-Germain as well.
Let's just hope he sends them down anyway, gents. See you later. Ta-ra.
Cheers, Gary. Thanks so much for your call. James, thank you very much.
Hang on, just getting back to Isco, I'm not sure a recent interview with Demichelis or in the AS newspaper, he confirmed that every player has been paid their wages and there is no problem whatsoever with wages. But having watched Isco play all season, I think that he has gone off the boil, as you rightfully say, but he's gone off the boil for a silly reason, and that is he's tried to showboat. He knows that the world's press and what have you is looking at him, and he's trying to impress by doing fancy footwork instead of doing the basic football, which has got him to be where he is.
Fair enough. Well, it's one of those sayings, form is temporary, class is permanent. I'm sure he's going to come back. James, we have to go to a commercial break. Many thanks for your call and your opinions. They're always very interesting to listen to. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, gentlemen. And Happy New Year to you. I haven't spoken to you before.
And the same to you, James.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Malaga against Celta, Saturday night, remember, live from La Rosaleda Stadium. 10 o'clock kickoff. We'll be live at 9:30. Chris Williams with us as well for that game.
Massmobile, sponsors of live coverage of Malaga Club de football matches.
Passes it to Tomato. Tomato dribbles it past Mozzarella and loses it to Beefy. Beefy runs with it, goes on the counter-attack of Beefy, and Beefy scores and the crowd goes wild.
It's the Friday Sports Bar on Talk Radio Europe with Dom Aldworth.
And Stuart Joseph and Richard Tilsley, and many thanks to all of your calls earlier. I do apologise that some of you were unable to get through. We simply only have about 43, 44 minutes on a Friday night, so we couldn't possibly take all of your calls as much as we'd like to. But the good news is we have a second show starting on a Monday. We'll be having a look back at everything that's been taking place on the sports pitches around the world over the weekends previous, and a look ahead. That also allows us more time to include all of you listeners out there, you sports fans, in the Monday night football. It will be, and of course the Friday night sports bar and the Monday night sports bar. So looking forward to starting that new show again on Monday, guys. Let's go back to the FA Cup, Stu, where we were, some fixtures that took place during the course of the week.
Well, there's the other games of Stoke beat Crystal Palace after extra time. We went through expectantly. Sunderland got beat at home by Bolton 2-0 in the replay, which was not expected. Queen's Park Rangers continued their progress. They won 1-0 at West Brom. And we were talking about generally, they've got some great games coming up in the next round, the fourth round, but some of the attendances, as we were just chatting, have been terrible. I mean, it just doesn't seem to excite people to go to see an FA Cup tie. Fulham and Blackpool only had 14,000. Even Leeds, who get 20,000, 25,000, played Birmingham at quite a nice tie, 8,000 people. I mean, really, some of the attendance is very disappointing. Wigan only at 8, but they never get more than 15, 20, I know. Queen's Park Rangers had 8,000 against West Brom. The attendances don't seem to happen. But in the next round, some of the games, Stoke v Manchester City, Bolton and Everton, Brighton and Arsenal, Norwich and Luton from the Conference League, Manchester United and Fulham, Leeds United and Tottenham, Brentford and Chelsea, a local derby right in the middle of town. If these don't produce good attendances, nearly full houses, I think the FA have got to restructure this FA Cup, because it's tragic. Because years ago, I remember going, when the FA Cup came round, you couldn't go quick enough. It was such a big tournament. It was such an exciting tournament. It just has lost its gloss totally.
Perhaps if Wolverhampton were playing, they'd have a full house.
I don't think it has lost its gloss. I think what you're looking at is that the economic crisis is, beginning to bite in the UK into people's pockets in the same way that it is here. And, coupled with that, the admission prices for football in the UK are pretty exorbitant. I mean, if you compare a season ticket, for the Premiership club to a season ticket here in Spain. I mean,
Richard, I think you're dead right.
Gentlemen, we have another caller on the line, so if you just excuse us for a second. Good evening, you're live on Talk Radio Europe.
Oh, yeah, another reason the attendances might be late. It's bloody cold over there.
Well, yeah, that's a pretty fair point as well, actually.
That didn't matter years ago when I was young, cold, rain. It didn't matter any difference. I went out with my coat and I watched football.
Oh, it's true, you're so hard.
To the Tottenham supporter, what did you think of this? Modric was the worst by the Spanish season.
Yeah, yes, I've read that. I've watched him play for Real Madrid, and I don't know, he just seems to be a little boy lost, but I think it might be the role. He doesn't play the same role.
In the first place.
What, sorry?
He was overrated in the first place.
Well, then,
like the whole Tottenham Hotspur football team.
Don't start with me. We got 32 million for him. He doesn't play for us anymore. That's fine. We're very happy.
It was a great bit of business.
Sorry?
Tottenham come out a lot better of it, didn't they?
Absolutely. We can't knock it. He's not with us now, so I'm really not too bothered. But
you watch, it'll be the same with Gareth Bale as well. some stupid club's going to pay 50 million for him, and the same's going to happen.
He won't go for less than 50 million. I think we had this discussion.
I think this is the same gentleman that gave you a hard time. Thanks for ringing up and giving Stuart Joseph a hard time. Please, can you ring at the same time every single Friday? Many thanks for your call. Cheers. Have a good weekend.
I wanted to mention, before we go off, talking about the FA Cup, Luton 1, Wolverhampton 0. I had to bring that up, Richard. I couldn't help it.
Well, I'll tell you something. I think that result, has possibly saved our season, because there was only one way we were going with Solbakken, and that was out of the Championship into the First Division.
Your new manager's a great guy. I think he'll do very well.
He's a very sort of perky character, Dean Saunders, and was always very popular in the dressing room. So I think he'll definitely give the players a lift. And he was doing well with Doncaster, and he had them in the top 3 in the First Division. So. And he knows English football, so I think that in itself is an advantage. And one of the problems with Solbakken.
Would you have had Adkins if you knew you had the choice of the two, or are you happy?
Well, I mean, I think I don't know. I mean, Adkins. Well, he was the physio, wasn't he? I mean, and he was promoted because they couldn't find anyone to take over when they fired Pardew. I mean, he has done well, but the thing is, he's also, got a very talented young squad there as well. And so he's been lucky in that respect.
From Wolverhampton to Spain and Copa del Rey action, which took place during the course of the week. A much better result for Malaga, defeated in La Liga 3-1 at La Rosaleda on the weekend, but only to go to the Camp Nou and come back with a 2-2 draw after the first leg. Not a bad result for Malaga.
Tremendous. I mean, I watched the game last week, and Barcelona just strolled through the game. Malaga weren't in it, and it was boys v men, but they were just totally outclassed. Barcelona, for the game during the week, they had about 5 reserves come in, though they still had Messi out there, and Malaga's performance was superb. They played absolutely terrific. They got a last-minute equaliser, and Monreal was sent off after 75 minutes, so they're down to 10 men as well, and then it's an equaliser in the last minute. It's over 2 legs. They got 2 goals. I fear that if Barcelona put out a 14, because this is the quarter-final, then I think Malaga will succumb, unfortunately. But having said that, they've got to just draw, and they're through. If they get a 0-0, 1-1 draw, they're through to the semi-final. And then they've got Real Madrid.
I was going to say, the winner looks likely to face Real Madrid, absolutely, who won 2-0, didn't they?
Yes.
And who else was in action there in the Copa del Rey as well? I think Atletico Madrid was in action as well.
Yeah, they won 2-0 against Real Betis last night. Barcelona, we just said, Real Zaragoza and Seville had a 0-0 draw, and Real Madrid beat Valencia 2-0. So there's still a lot to play for in the second league.
Well, there is other sports going on around the world, and because we've had so many callers, we're falling behind schedule here. We're going to try and rattle through some of those, bring you up to speed. It's Richard's favourite sport, by the way. When you weren't here last week, Richard slagged it off. It's tennis. I love tennis. It's the Australian Open, the first Grand Slam of the year. I get very excited about that. We've seen some high-quality tennis. No Rafa Nadal, of course. He had to pull out due to illness. But I can tell you right now, David Ferrer continues to fly the flag for Spain, the number 4 seed, going through to the 4th round today, defeating Marcos Baghdatis in 3 sets from Cyprus there. Thomas Berdych is through as well against Jurgen Melzer. Kevin Anderson became the first South African since Wayne Ferreira to get through to the 4th round, defeating Spain's Fernando Verdasco. Kai Nishikori, the Japanese superstar, he's through as well. Janko Tipsarevic is through today, and Novak Djokovic, the defending champion, the 2 times winner of the Australian Open, and certainly the favourites and is playing some superb tennis, went through against Radek Stefanik today, 6-4, 6-3, 7-5. In yesterday's second round action, pretty easy there for Andy Murray. He's looking in particularly good form, 6-2, 6-2, 6-4 against Portugal qualifier João Sousa, if I got that name correct. Roger Federer now, they are due to meet. Andy Murray and Roger Federer are due to meet in the semi-finals. He had a very tricky match against Nikolai Davydenko, former world number 5, who came into this tournament off the back of some pretty good form, but no such problems for Roger Federer. 6-3, 6-4, 6-4. Juan Martín del Potro, the 2010 US Open champion, he's also through to the second round. Just have a quick look at the top half draw for tomorrow. Novak Djokovic takes on Stanislas Wawrinka. Kevin Anderson, Thomas Berdych. David Ferrer's in action against Kai Nishikori. That should be a good matchup there. And Nicolas Almagro takes on number 8 seed Janko Tipsarevic. That's on Saturday, and that's on Sunday, I beg your pardon. But tomorrow, Andy Murray is back in action tomorrow, and he takes on another qualifier, Ricardas Berankis from Lithuania. No problems there, I envisage. And Roger Federer takes on the young, brash Australian Bernard Tomic, who incidentally has now gone 21 matches unbeaten in Australia in the first part of this year. So a very tricky tie there for Roger Federer. And in the ladies' side of the draw, The top off, Victoria Azarenka, is still looking particularly good. She takes on the young and up-and-coming American player Jamie Hampton in the third round. Karolina Wozniacki, the girlfriend of Rory McIlroy, I think she's the reason why he missed the cut of the HSBC Championship, takes on a qualifier, Leslie Turenko from Ukraine. Serena Williams looking in top form as well. She's against Morita from Japan. Sloane Stephens against Laura Robson. I don't know if you saw young Laura Robson yesterday evening. In fact, it was a tremendous game that had come from a set down to advance to the third round. And this is going to be a great clash, guys. She's taken on a young American, same age, I think she's 19 years old, Laura Robson, only 18. A young lady from America called Sloane Stephens, and she is the next big thing in the women's game. So that's going to be a very interesting clash. I know you don't really care, Rich, but I know you do.
I was just like, you know, Stu, you know the truth is he doesn't really like tennis. He just likes to show off with all these unpronounceable names. I heard him, coming into the station this evening. He was going, Andrei Davydenko, Radanaska. I thought, what on earth? He was practicing the tennis names.
I was going to say,
Did you finish?
Laura Robson, I watched the game yesterday. She was amazing.
Fantastic, wasn't it? At midnight, the Rod Laver
finished
12:30, and it was still 38, 39 degrees as well.
She was immense.
Against Petra Kvitova as well, the former Wimbledon champion.
Absolutely, and she was really hurt that she got beat, but to see a British girl fight and give what she gave, and she's only 18, it's very, very exciting. Very exciting.
Well, it's all good stuff, the Australian Open, so we all wish Laura Robson a good run tomorrow. There's every chance that she can get through, and that's going to be a very interesting clash. I can tell you today, Maria Sharapova went through very comfortably against Venus Williams. I know you're looking at the clock. Don't fall asleep, Richard. Very briefly, Heineken Cup rugby tomorrow as well. It's crunch time. It's round 6 of the Heineken Cup. The last opportunity the sides have of making through to the quarterfinals. The French duo of Toulon, Clermont and Aviva Premiership champions Harlequins have already progressed last week. It's now down to Leinster, Munster, Montpellier, Saracens, all vying for those last spots. In fact, there's 10 teams that can potentially qualify for the last 5 or 6 berths there. The big one of the weekend is going to be the Leicester Tigers versus Toulouse. That's a big crunch clash tomorrow, no doubt about it. The last round of the Heineken Cup. Formula One fans, the season is not very far away at all. The teams have announced when they're going to be unveiling their new cars. Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg's Mercedes for the season will be unveiled just before Jerez on the 5th of February. The testing is in Jerez on the 7th of February. I can tell you the other sides here. McLaren is going to be on January the 31st, Ferrari on February the 1st, and Red Bull, the 3-times world champion Sebastian Vettel and Constructors champions Red Bull, will be unveiling their car on the 3rd of February. A very quick cast our eye over the European Tour Golf, which is coming out of Abu Dhabi, and the HSBC Championship. And I can tell you now, the world number 1 and the world number 2, Rory McIlroy and Tiger Woods, failed to make it to the weekend. They've missed the cut. But Justin Rose, who's been showing some pretty good form over the last 12 months, sits top of the leaderboard, 1 shot ahead of Jamie Donaldson on 8 under par going into the weekend. A host of other players there on 7 and 5 under. It should be a very exciting climax to the weekend in golf. And that's at the HSBC Championships. We've got a little bit of time to talk NFL. I've got no dramatic music going on here, Rich. I watched the playoffs last week. Now there is 4. This is for a right this weekend to make it to the Super Bowl. But some amazing American football matches last week in the AFC Championship. The Ravens will be taking on the Patriots this weekend. But what a great win for the Ravens at the Mile High City against Peyton Manning's Denver Broncos.
Well, that was an absolutely classic game, and a very uncharacteristic mistake by Peyton Manning in the 4th quarter, to give the ball away, and which really led to the score by the Ravens to win that game.
47-yard field goal there to clinch it for the Ravens, 38 points to 35. Very close.
For me, the standout performance of the weekend was definitely Colin Kaepernick.
Tremendous for the 49ers.
San Francisco 49ers. I mean, rushed for 181 yards, 2 touchdowns, threw for 2 touchdowns as well. And,
he smashed all records, didn't he? And he's a rookie as well.
181 yards running for a quarterback is absolutely astounding.
Absolutely. I mean, most running backs won't even rush that amount of yards. In fact, I think Adrian Peterson from the Minnesota Vikings, who just fell 8 yards short of the record, and that's his role that he fulfills, I think didn't even run 181 yards in one match, in one game this season.
Well, I mean, that's one of the advantages, and that's, a lot of these young quarterbacks that are coming into the game, like RG3 and Russell Wilson. This is something that that they have in their armory. And if you go back to the greats of the game, I mean, You know, think of people like Joe Montana and Terry Bradshaw for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Steve Young, John Elway, Dan Marino.
John Elway wasn't. I mean, John Elway wasn't the best of rushers, scramblers, but he didn't have the he didn't have the speed of somebody like Montana. Whereas with Elway, what he had was probably one of the greatest arms the game has ever seen. I mean, he could stand on the halfway line and get someone to throw a tyre up in the air, and he could put a ball through the centre of the tyre.
Sure, I remember that well. But a great win, as you were saying, by Kaepernick for the San Francisco 49ers over the Green Bay Packers, 45 points to 31. A late field goal. Atlanta against the Seattle Seahawks, another unbelievable game of football. Atlanta coming away with a 30 points to 28 victory. Seattle coming from 20 points behind as well to almost clinch this game.
I mean, if Seattle had started playing... in the first half of the game, I think they'd have walked away with that one. It was almost as though the jet lag from the West Coast, was catching up with them. And, and the other thing is that the Falcons do have a reputation as being chokers. And to my mind, I think that they're susceptible. I know that they have a far better season record than the 49ers, but I just think the 49ers, they've got a great defense, and they've got that very original, very enterprising offense, which I think is going to cause the Falcons all sorts of problems.
And the last team to get through there in the AFC was the New England Patriots, led by Tom Brady. 17 post-season victories now for him. He stands alone ahead of, I said Dan Marino last week, and I can't
Joe Montana.
Joe Montana, former 49ers and Kansas City Chiefs quarterback. Very easy victory there, 41 points to 28. That sets up a rematch of last year's AFC Championship, the Baltimore Ravens versus the New England Patriots, the 49ers versus the Falcons. Very quickly, Rich, we need a commercial break. Pick your winner for this weekend's championship.
Well, I mean, it's being billed as Ray Lewis versus Tom Brady, and I think that as much as sentiment would like Ray Lewis to actually make a Super Bowl, I think you've got to go with New England. And so my pick for the Super Bowl is New England versus the 49ers.
Yeah, that sounds exactly where I was going to go with that.
That would be a great game as well.
Cracking game. And I think really on form, and what we saw on the weekends, what we've seen in the regular season as well is pretty much... what one would have expected anyway.
Well, you wouldn't necessarily expect it of the 49ers at the beginning of the season when they had Alex Smith. It really is.
Kaepernick's turned it around for them, hasn't he?
He certainly has.
Thanks for that, Rich. We must go for one last commercial break. We'll see the other side of these.
Malaga against Celta, Saturday night, remember, live from La Rosaleda Stadium. 10 o'clock kickoff. We'll be live at 9:30. Chris Williams with us as well for that game.
Massmobile, sponsors of live coverage of Malaga Club de football matches. It's the Friday Sports Bar with Dom Ordworth on Talk Radio Europe.
Just caught my breath back after all of that, guys. We've got about 3 minutes to go. Let's finish off a little preview as to what's going on in the Premier League this weekend. Bundesliga is back on the agenda as well this weekend. Juventus, just quickly round up. Juventus have really got to start winning again. Inter Milan and Napoli really catching up with them in Serie A. But Premier League, most importantly, what we got going on?
We've got some good games this weekend. We've got Manchester City and Fulham, should be a cracking game. Swansea and Stoke, West Ham United, QPR, Wigan, Sunderland, West Bromwich Albion, Aston Villa, Chelsea and Arsenal, terrific London derby on Sunday lunchtime. The game of the weekend, personally, is Spurs and Manchester United.
1-3.
And on Monday night, we've got Southampton and Everton. And what we've done in the studio is we've got the new Monday night show. We've done all the scores that we think is going to happen. And we'll judge ourselves on Monday and see how good we are in reflecting the form of the weekend games.
No, I don't think Richard's going to be here on Monday because he normally has dates on Monday.
No, he said he's going to do whatever he needs to do on Sunday night.
But what is it that you're going to do on Sunday night?
I don't know.
Huh? Oh, by the way, did you pay for dinner? By the way, remember we had this discussion about first and second dates. Did you pay?
No, I never paid on.
Love to know your secret.
Of course I paid. Yeah? Honestly, it's only cheapskates.
I was going to say, where did you take her? McDonald's? No, where did you take her? Come on.
Sorry, well, it's free advertising though. I can't say that.
Oh, for goodness sakes. Well, some Spanish place. I mean, come on.
No, they're way around here.
I know where you took her.
Where?
Salotto.
Yeah.
Yeah? Oh, yeah. Show off. Why don't you just take her to a Menu Del Dia place? €15, all you can eat, or Chinese buffet.
Well, you've got to push the boat out occasionally, Dom.
Yeah? Okay. And how was it? Is she nice?
Oh,
What's her name?
That's none of your business.
Oh, come on.
Let's talk about sport.
Well, we've only got 1 minute 34 to go. Stu wants to say something.
I want to know why, okay, Dominic, you are showing absolutely no interest whatsoever in the Africa Cup of Nations with your team playing.
Because I don't support the South African football. Bafana. I don't support Bafana. because I think the whole governing body of South African football is politically incorrect. Well, I never have supported them.
Isn't that just another way of saying that you got a crap team?
Well, that too. that too. Yeah,
and
that
you
too.
South Africans,
Yeah.
I mean, you
That's
like
a stupid name, Bafana.
You like winners, don't you?
No, I'm a rugby man. You know me. I like the Springboks and the Proteas, the cricket team. You know.
But you like England football.
Yeah. I don't like it. I follow it. Yeah.
You support them. I've seen you.
Of course, I support
top
them.
on.
Yeah, I know. But I support them. Of course, I do. I mean, I like to see England do very well, and of course, I support them.
But you don't want South Africa to do well.
Not Bafana. No. Can't stand them. I hope somebody else wins it.